Here with us today, we have Corey Connolly, Senior Product Manager at SkyJack. Corey, it's been 2 years since SkyJack introduced the SJ3013 micro unit. Why was this product debuted, and what's the response been so far?
So the reason why we came up with that machine, there's a few main drivers looking at the 3013. So one was growing demand for more low-level access options, alternatives to ladders, alternatives to push-around lifts, and alternatives to slightly larger pieces of equipment, like similar size scissor lifts, like similar sized as far as platform height goes.
Hmm.
So what they're looking for is something similar but smaller. So platforms and capacities that can accommodate two people, similar with a similar feature offering, but in a more compact dimensionally, lower machine weight and lower floor loads. So what we're seeing is more job sites and facilities requiring smaller self-propelled machines that can easily be transported through driveways on standard elevators with the fixed handrails. So some when you look at some slightly larger scissor lifts, a lot of those will have folding handrails. So with the micros, you've got fixed handrails, so that's one thing that you don't have to worry about when you're going through a doorway or when you're loading it onto an elevator. So some of those the areas that you might be seeing those machines or seeing those type of scenarios where they would need a machine like that, it could be like data centers with raised flooring. Um, as well as locations that may be focused on cleanliness, which makes electric drive an attractive feature, as well as a lot of these micros do have that type of feature on most of the machines that are offered now. So significantly reducing the potential for a hydraulic leak. And as far as what the response has been since we started offering that machine in both Europe and North America, it's been quite positively received by the market.
That's excellent. Yeah, it sounds like a very modern, flexible machine. What changes, if any, have you guys introduced since the launch? Yeah, if you have introduced any changes, yeah, what purpose have they served?
So since we just came out with that fairly recently, like you said, just a couple of years ago, there has not been any major updates or changes since it came to market.
Okay, good to know. And you kind of mentioned some of the applications already, but what are some of the micro applications that are most popular that are being used by customers currently? And have you seen these uses change over the past few years, or has it been pretty consistent?
I don't think things have really changed. I think it's just more people recognizing the benefits of these machines and where they can be used. So, like you
Mhm.
said, as I mentioned earlier, being used in more confined spaces where platform size, capacity, and reach are a requirement, while also being able to fit into a standard elevator and also being able to fit through a standard doorway without having full rails down. So, where you see that is like in institutional settings like hospitals, schools, universities, hotels, office buildings, retail spaces, and again, places like data centers and in any other setting where they might have raised or finished flooring that they might be concerned about.
Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like the SJ3013 is pretty well fit for just like our modern life, like modern settings that we have now that need to be maintained and cleaned, like data centers like you mentioned, and just things that weren't around or extremely popular like 10, 15 years ago. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of identifying where maybe they weren't using the most efficient means before, whether it be a larger piece of equipment or some other means that may not have been the most safest way of accessing height before.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. So how's the overall North American market for these SJ3013 micro machines? How's it been this year so far?
So I would say for looking at machines like that sub 15-foot machine class, there's been a steady increase since 2021. Obviously, the pandemic would have had a big impact on that. So since though 2021, there's been considerable market growth, and each subsequent year it's continued. And 2023 has continued to show considerable demand still for these type of machines.
Okay, good. It's good to hear. And how do you see the market for the micros playing out in North America like next year and going forward? What kind of new opportunities are there going to be, in 2024, 2025?
I think, like I was mentioning before, I think more and more people recognizing how these machines can be used or how they better serve some of their needs. And I think what we're seeing now is that the micros have developed into a distinct segment in the rental industry as a whole. Rental
Hmm.
fleets and I guess the other thing too is rental fleets have got older during the pandemic, and rental companies have looked to reduce that fleet age during the past few years, and we expect that to continue into 2024. So that's also contributing to that demand that we're seeing.
Definitely. So it sounds like the arrow's pointing up a little bit, just with these micros kind of establishing like their own little foothold in the industry.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
I would say that's correct.
So, tell me just in general, what are some of the top trends happening within the micro scissor sector with those platforms that are under 19 feet? I know you mentioned those under 17 footers earlier. But yeah, can you tell me a little bit about the market for micros in general going for some of those trends?
Yeah, I would say the big trend is just the development of that sector into its own segment. So separating
Hmm.
it out from the larger electric scissors, the larger electric scissor lifts that offer maybe the same height or slightly higher platform height. So it's no longer seen as a niche subgroup of those machines. It's now its own distinct group. So you're
Awesome.
not seeing like for example, like a 19-foot scissor, it's not just a niche 19-foot scissor. It's a completely separate class of 19-foot scissors now.
And yeah, for rental companies looking to add micro scissors to its fleet, which it sounds like more and more companies are going to be doing that in the near future. What are like your top three tips for these companies to consider before purchasing a micro scissor lift?
Well, I think one of the first things they should do is they should consider the applications and customer base they have and that they're trying to serve. So, what type of environments and conditions is the machine going to be used in? Should help them identify the characteristics of the machine that are important to them. And then another thing would be recognizing what makes these machines different from machines with similar platform heights. So again, going back to that example I gave before, the difference between a standard 19-foot, 32-inch wide machine versus a micro 19-footer, looking at the size, dimensions, platform, railing design, machine weight, capacities, floor loads, they are different. So that's something that they need to recognize. And then I think the last thing would be what specifications are most important, like what heights, capacities, floor loads do they need to meet. There's different micros that have different specs. So we were just talking about that. They have different platform heights. It's not like when we say micro, that's just referring to 13-foot machines or 15-foot machines, 17-foot machines, 19-foot machines. So there is that segment of machines. They are broken down into different height classes as well. So, and what does the mix of their fleet look like? Not just micros, but how do they integrate it in with their other machines? They would have a lot of different machines that are very similar. So they need to recognize how they want to manage that balance of machines.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for that insight. That's really great. And then, what one or two more questions for you. So, what other kind of launches, in the microspace or maybe just in general, does SkyJack have on the docket for, the rest of this year or maybe go early next year in 2024? Any details you can provide on anything new SkyJack has coming out?
Well, I would say it is a significant market segment, like we both talked about before, that has a variety of machines within it. And while I can't share specifics, Skyjack will have some announcements to share in the coming months on some upcoming changes that we are going to have to our product line that would uh, will impact that segment of machines.
Okay, that's exciting. And anything else you want to share for any aerial platform or rental customers out there? Anything you want to share with our magazine audience?
Nothing specific beyond what we've already talked about. Just that, like I said, we've got some upcoming announcements. We're also excited right now at Skyjack. We just launched our when you look at our standard scissor electric scissor lift line, we just started launching our electric drive machines. So people should be looking out for those in the market as well.
Excellent. Well, Corey, thank you again so much for your time.